Good day. Here are the sociological perspectives presented by Group 5. Let's discuss first about the conflict theory. Conflict theory was created by this funky looking Santa Claus named Karl Marx. He is a German philosopher and was born in 1818 and died in 1883. Conflict theory is a macro-level perspective or approach who saw society as being made up of individuals in different social classes who must compete for social, material, and political resources such as food and housing, employment, education, and leisure time. History of conflict theory. The conflict theory has a long history in sociology. Without question, Karl Marx's works in the early to mid 1800s formed the initial statements of this perspective. As you know, Marx was centrally concerned with class and the dialects of capitalism. In the early 20th century, Max Weber formulated a response to Marx's theory. Weber saw that conflict didn't overwhelmingly involve the economy, but the state and economy together set up conditions for conflict. As for its principles and perspective, all systems of oppression must be legitimated in order to function. Thus, legitimation is one of the critical issues in the idea of conflict. Weber also saw that class is more complex than Marx initially supposed, and that there are other factors that contribute to social inequality, most notably status and party or power. As for its views on education, conflict theory view education as a tool in upholding social inequality and to carry on the power of the ruling class in the society. In addition, conflict theorists perceive education not as a social benefit or opportunity, but as a powerful means of maintaining power structures and creating a docile workforce for capitalism. As for structural functionalism, its main proponent is this guy with very sophisticated mustache named Emile Durkheim, who is a French sociologist and was born in 1858 and died in 1917. He rose to prominence in the late 19th and early 20th centuries along with other philosophers and is credited as being one of the principal founders of modern sociology. Functional approach was developed from 1930s through the 1960s in the United States as Parsons studied Weber and Durkheim and translated their works into English. Its principles and perspectives can be divided into four parts. Macro because it focuses on sociological institutions and structures existing in the society as a whole. Function because different parts of each society contribute positively to the operation or functioning of the system as a whole. Interdependence and equilibrium because functionalism attempts to explain a relationship of different parts of the system, and evolutionary change because while equilibrium consensus and static rather than dynamic analysis is most common, there is some discussion of change. As for its views on education, structural functionalist believes the aim of key institutions such as education is to socialize children and teenagers. Socialization is the process by which the new generation learns the knowledge, attitudes, and values that they will need as productive citizens. And last but not the least, symbolic interactionism. Its main proponent is this guy who looks like Papa Smurf named George Herbert Mead, an American philosopher born in 1863 and died in 1931. Symbolic interactionism is a micro-level theory that focuses on the relationships among individuals within a society. Communication, the exchange of meaning through language and symbols, is believed to be the way in which people make sense of their social worlds. As for its history, George Herbert Mead is considered a founder of symbolic interactionism, though he never published his works on it. But instead, his student Herbert Blumer coined the term symbolic interactionism and outlined these basic premises. As for its perspective and principles, symbolic interactionist thinkers look for patterns of interaction between individuals. Their studies often involve observation of one-on-one interactions. An example of which a symbolic interactionist would be more interested in how individuals in the protesting group interact as well as the signs and symbols protesters use to communicate their message. As for its views on education, symbolic interactionist studies of education examine social interactions in the classroom, on the playground, and other school venues. These studies help us understand what happens in school themselves, but they also help us understand now what occurs in school is relevant for the larger society.